Do you ever just engage in something that makes you realize just how fun a genre could be when it's actually done right? Like a light bulb just flips in your head and then you're left with a strong desire to want more from that genre in a very specific way? It's a very unique feeling that oftentimes leads you down a rabbit hole as you crave more and more to scratch that very specific itch at the back of your head. The best example I can give is when it comes to music genres. Maybe you just discovered math rock or breakcore and want more of that, getting into a whole phase that lasts for a couple of weeks, maybe even months. Yeah, it's like that for me too. Sci-fi is a genre that I'm not exactly too fond of, unless it involves giant robots and war crimes. So I had a lot of hesitation checking out this brand new animated series that released towards the end of last year. And when I did, it took a while, but it slowly started to draw me in, and before I knew it, I was enthralled in what I had just watched. There weren't any giant robots or epic space battles, it was something on a much smaller scale, something that felt a lot more personal. This is Scavenger's Reign. It's crazy how we don't really have a lot of adult animated sci-fi series out there, more so ones that are actually good. From the top of my head, the only one I can remember would be Final Space, which unfortunately didn't end so well. Though they've sort of been on the rise recently with shows like Pantheon and Captain Laserhawk coming out last year, both of which I'm yet to watch but will eventually get into. But I digress. Scavenger's Reign is a 12-episode series that follows the survivors of a space crew stranded on an alien planet called Vesta. The story follows three separate groups, the only people to make it to the planet's surface alive, as they try to make the best out of their situation, survive, and make their way towards their crashed interstellar cargo ship called the Demeter 227, where they can only hope to be able to contact for help as well as awaken all the other crew members in cryo-sleep. Since it follows three separate groups, the story often shifts between three separate perspectives: Azzy and her robot companion Levi, the ship's captain Sam and crewmate Ursula, and this guy, Cayman, who comes across a creature that I can best describe as a psychic frog thing. These survivors must maneuver their way through the incredibly breathtaking and sometimes trippy alien environments that are some of the most unique I have ever seen of the genre. If you haven't seen the show yet, you are seriously missing out, especially if you're a sci-fi fan. But what makes Scavenger's Reign so unique in the sci-fi genre? That would be the planet the series is set in, Vesta, and the way the show presents the alien planet to us. The series has some of the most unique and well thought out alien life I have ever seen. How? By making them look, feel, and act like actual animals that do their own thing. Each creature we see fits right into the world, never looking out of place or outlandish. It helps that these creature designs all have a consistent feeling to them. That feeling being otherworldly, yet animalistic. Most of the creatures the characters meet are never really hostile towards them, but also don't feel exactly safe to be around. It always feels like the characters are just one small step away from pissing off whatever creature they encounter, but it never really crosses that. I fell in love with the planet and its ecosystem by the second episode. Love that was only made stronger thanks to the way each episode takes moments to just show us the animals being animals. Oftentimes the show would take focus away from the characters and their journey to the Demeter just to show us the weird and fascinating creatures that just exist in their natural environment, turning it into a pseudo-nature documentary. I won't lie, these are my favorite parts of the show, and they always left me eager to see what new alien creature we'd be seeing next. We're so used to aliens being depicted as either grotesque monstrosities that just want to wipe out the human race, wacky and zany creatures that have special powers, or aliens that are just humans in space or human adjacent. So this was really refreshing seeing them just be animals. You can really tell that this show was made with the planet first. The rest of the show, from the characters to the story, are pretty bare bones, but that doesn't make them bad. There isn't any deep lore or complex characters. Hell, we barely learn anything about the characters and their life before getting on the Demeter, and I think that's perfectly fine. The show doesn't pretend to be something it's not by having these characters go on some kind of spiritual journey as they make their way through the vast alien biomes. But as they do go on, you do form an attachment to them, feeling the tension they feel as they get into new and dangerous scenarios, but never once do you feel deeply connected to them. Save for Levi though, the robot slowly gaining sentience in a rather unique way. Watching its journey to understanding feels way out of left field, but also really just works. As for the plot, it does try to spice things up by introducing new characters halfway through the series, as well as some other story beats, but some of them did come off as strange and felt a bit like padding only to just end without giving you real closure. But this all plays into the recurring theme throughout the show that can be seen in the environment and the characters as well. That theme being symbiosis and relationships. Wait, aren't those kind of the same thing? The planet's ecosystem is so intricately designed in a way that the life forms belonging to a particular biome rely on the other life forms from that same biome. It brings the circle of life and takes it to its extreme in a way that comes off as kind of beautiful. Watching this ostrich-like thing die and become the plant that these slug-like things eat and also acts as bait for the ostrich-like things to scoop up and take to these, it shows that if at any point the cycle gets upset even the slightest, it would throw the whole ecosystem out of balance, and that's the kind of thing that happens with Cayman and the psychic frog, proving that once again, humans kind of mess up everything they touch. The symbiosis is something that is also seen in the human relationships. We see just how much one person needs the other if they intend on surviving on this alien planet and make it to the Demeter. Like Ozzy and Levi. Ozzy starts out as kind of a jerk to Levi, who gains sentience and slowly starts to grow an identity as the story progresses. She acts as this tough and gruff, no-nonsense person who thinks she can do things on her own, but later down the line she does come to accept Levi's new identity and accepts that she does in fact need Levi, because man, this woman would have died 5 times over if it wasn't for Levi. And Levi does learn human interactions and emotions from Ozzy, growing to understand and appreciate life through Ozzy and the planet. Levi's arc was my favorite in the series, and while the series does show us good parts to having relationships like these, it doesn't refrain from showing us what happens when this is taken to its toxic extreme. Later down the line we are introduced to a few new characters. This is Chris and her band of, I guess, space scavengers. The more you watch the trio, the more you realize how unhealthy it is. I don't want to spoil too much, but man, Chris is a master manipulator, a real gaslighting gatekeeping girl boss who uses all the manipulation tactics to keep her crew stuck to her. I freaking hate her guts so much, but that is just good character writing at play here. This is all perfectly presented to us with amazing art and animation that looks clean as heck. The art really helps to enhance the atmosphere of the planet and draw you in, coupled with the animation makes for some really breathtaking moments. But what I didn't expect was just how the art and animation would switch up and give us straight up horror. Yeah, oftentimes the series would switch to a horror series to remind you that despite all the whimsy behind the alien planet, it's still filled to the brim with incomprehensible danger. Not only is the ever-looming threat of being ripped to shreds by some unknown entity out there, but there's a lot of body horror in it. Oftentimes body parts will just morph and disfigure to give us some grotesque, bone-chilling scenes that will just have you curling up your toes. This is where the animation really shines. There was just something so raw and entrancing about these scenes, and even better, it wasn't just exclusive to humans. Scavenger's reign, to put it simply, is art, and we need more people watching this show. My only beef with this is, why the hell was it not marketed well enough? Barely anyone has been talking about this show and it hurts me so much. Hell, the only way I found out about this show was through word of mouth. I didn't even stumble across the trailer, and this is coming from someone who is chronically online. Like, it's so under the radar that not even the animation buffs on Twitter are gassing it up. A real shame really, because I really think the show needs more people watching it because as it stands, it seems very unlikely that it would get a second season. Though as much as I love this series, I feel like it's getting a second season would take a lot away from the things that made this series special. Because of the way the series ended, it sets up a few things that might be interesting to explore, but then it would end up making the scale feel bigger than it needs to be. Then again, it could probably end up being really good. But yeah, go watch Scavenger's Reign, and I'm not asking nicely. This has been your very favorite slice of bread. Stay toasty.